Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. I want to thank our friends from many grandparents from across Ontario who will be joining us, who have joined us this morning, and who will be joining us this afternoon for the debate on the Children's Law Reform Amendment Act I'll be introducing, providing an opportunity for grandparents to make a case within Ontario courts to having access and an opportunity to build a nourishing relationship and maintaining that nourishing relationship with their grandchildren. This bill is really focused on grandchildren's rights as well, because denying that relationship from a perspective of the grandchildren with their grandparents is detrimental to their well-being, to their upbringing, and many children find within the environment of being with a grandma and a grandpa, ma mère, papa, is that safe environment, that trustworthy environment, that environment of love, and we want to make sure that that is going to continue. Joining me today are my friends from Alienated Grandparents Anonymous, who have provided me with a wealth of information and will be sharing some of that information as to the challenges that are there, their message, what they want to accomplish here today. Joining me, I have Sonia Cianciullo, who are along with Wanda Davies, along with Frank Cianciullo. Welcome, and I'll give you an opportunity.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, everyone, for coming this morning. We are here to show our support for Bill 34, the Ontario Children's Law Reform Amendment Act, the relationship with grandparents. Since 2005, this is the 7th time that grandparents have come to Queen's Park in an attempt to get an amendment to the Ontario Children's Law Reform Act. And we'll be coming back again because we are not here to fight for ourselves. We are here to fight for the rights of our grandchildren because they do not have a voice and their rights are sometimes not respected. Even though they are not allowed to see their grandparents, we want our grandchildren to know that we have done everything we could to have a loving relationship with them, including trying to change the law. We also want to make people aware of the growing issue of emotional and psychological abuse against these children through the denial of access or the isolation of children from their own family. There are heartwarming cases that are happening in your own neighborhoods, in small towns and big cities all over Ontario. Wanda?
The pain inflicted on our grandchildren and grandparents is beyond description. It's a living bereavement. The Public Health Agency of Canada and the National Seniors Council have documented the long-term effects of this isolation on the mental and physical health of the grandchildren and grandparents. In fact, the Children's Aid, Elder Abuse Ontario, and the Public Health Agency of Canada all say that using children as pawns in relationships, withholding affection, socially isolating, and refusing or denying children access to their grandparents or refusing grandparents access to their grandchildren is emotional and psychological abuse. The government has the power to make changes. The government has the duty to give a voice to our grandchildren. So here is 4 reasons why we are here today. This is abuse. The law in Ontario is antiquated. The costs of doing nothing are high, and we as grandparents can help. We are the solution.
Let me give you a little bit more detail on those 4 reasons why we're here. The Children's Law Reform Act does not protect the children from this type of emotional abuse. In fact, we believe that the current law is in contravention of Articles 15, 16, and 19 of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. We're also here because the current law is totally antiquated. 6 other provinces have legislation that allows grandchildren to see their grandparents. In fact, the wording of the Quebec law is almost identical to the Bill 34. So what we ask is, why can't Ontario children have the same rights as Quebec children? Point 3, the current law is also causing indirectly enormous downstream costs to society, to the juvenile justice system, and to the health system. These are all elaborated by the Public Health Agency of Canada. They are intergenerational transmission of abuse, delinquency and adolescent maladjustment, and the interventions of health practitioners. Finally, number 4, we're here because we want the government to know that updating this law will allow for positive relationships between grandchildren and their grandparents, and these relationships will help reduce these costs. Grandparents can be indispensable in reducing and preventing increased cases of delinquency and adolescent maladjustment by giving grandchildren attention, love, someone to talk to, and lasting self-esteem. Finally, in conclusion, the essence of Mr. Mantha's bill is not to supplant parents. We just want the opportunity to love our grandchildren. This bill prevents what is sometimes termed as willful and spiteful denial of access, especially when the grandparents have been a positive and loving influence on the lives of the grandchildren. This is the 7th time we come here. Bill 34 is definitely overdue, and it's definitely in the best interest of the child. Thank you very much for your time.
I want to thank the many grandparents who are going to be joining here, who have joined us here this morning, who are going to be joining us throughout the course of the day. The key theme here that we need to have people understand is that we're trying to accomplish something that is in the best interest of the child. Ultimately, that's the goal of this bill. I want to thank Sonia, Frank, and Wanda for joining me here this morning. Again, having this nurturing relationship flourish is something that all of our children need in this province and across this country, and there is no reason why that there should be an 8th time that we're coming back to presenting this bill. If there has to be, I guess we will just have to do that. But this time, we're all hoping on behalf of all grandchildren across this province that this is indeed the last time that this bill is going to be introduced and that it will become law. We are not letting it go. We are going into action. We will be knocking on your doors. We'll open it up the floor for all questions. Anybody from media? Seeing none, thank you all for joining us.